Where successful traders aren't born, they're forged. I'm Gates Adams, and we are talking about trading today. Trading involves risk. Please make sure you know what you're doing before you do it. And for the love of God, I got to get this microphone thing down. Holy shit. Anyway, that was, I don't know that I can duplicate what I just did. But let me tell you what's going on. For those of you who have been following me, look, let me go into a little bit of my trading history. Most of you know this, or at least have heard snippets of it. Without going into the deep, dark history of losing almost $1 million in 1998 trading, I started this journey beginning of last year. Started the first trading day, I think it was January 3rd last year, 2023. And I started streaming my trading. This was a whole thing. I knew that this was the run, and I had a pretty frustrating year. Now I learned my trading strategy at that point from my good friend Daryl, who is the CEO of Apex Investing and Apex Trader Funding, one of the most prolifically successful traders I've ever known, and just an all-around amazing man. Privileged to call him my friend. Anyway, what I didn't do is I didn't really dig into the understanding of why the market moved the way that it did. This was a very indicator-heavy strategy, and I learned pattern recognition. So I saw things happen that he told me to look for, and I would trade based on that. And I had some ups and downs. I did pass some evaluations last year. I think it was 10 evaluations, and was a couple days short of being able to request a payout, and I blew them in 2 bad days of trading, almost 16 grand worth of unrealized profits lost and gone into the ether. I continued to fight through most of the rest of the year. In November, I pretty much quit. I pretty much gave up. I was done. I really didn't want to think about trading. While my life still revolved around trading to a certain extent, still doing a lot of trader interviews and things like that. But I just couldn't get myself back in the charts. I just went through too many struggles, too many, slaps in the face. And anyway, I stopped. And in February, I decided that I was going to commit to this. I was going to go all in. I was going to do all of the things that I'd never done before, which, involved, watching incessant amounts of videos. I hired a trading coach. Kevin, thank you so much for all the work that you've done, brother. I started a podcast, the Forged Trader Podcast. If you haven't seen that, check that out on iTunes and Spotify. It's what I have been doing since February has been just an exercise in exposure. And look, I know some of you watch this. I know probably not a ton of people are watching this at this point. But for all of the, the thumbs up, the yays, the accolades, and the support that you guys have given me since I started this, I can't tell you how much it's meant to me. Today, I passed an evaluation. I say this laughing because it seems like such a small accomplishment in the grand scheme of things. I know people who go in and pass 10, 20, 30 evaluations a month, and then, of course, they end up blowing them, or they continue on and they do really well, and whatever the case may be. But for me, this is the first evaluation I've passed since last summer. And this is the first evaluation I've passed since I took on the mission to really do this the right way in February. I've been working on my mindset. I've been working on my emotions. I've been working on my skills for sure. Like I said, lots of videos there. And my understanding of the markets in general and what makes them move and how they move, and, high probabilities, low probabilities, and avoiding traps. I mean, all of these things I've been working on incessantly. And what it really boiled down to for me is a few years ago, I took on this journey of being coached and self-exploration, and basically came to the concept and understanding of focusing my attention concurrently on the 4 main areas of life, which for me and for my coaches, as it was taught to me, are body, being, balance, and business. And the thing is that in these 3.5 years or so, the results in my life are undeniable in all 4 areas. I'm in better shape than I've ever been in my life. I actually just had my body scan at my gym this morning, dipped into the 15% body fat. I've never been that in my entire adult life, probably in my life other than as a total juvenile. So this was a big milestone for me. I'm still continuing to work through, and my goal is to get down to 12 by the end of the year. My faith is in a place it's never been before. I actually am going on a mission trip this summer with my son to Mexico, something that neither of us has ever done, and I'm super excited, something I would never have considered, any period of time ago. My relationship with my wife, with my kids, and building friendships and building outside relationships is in a place it's never been in my adult life. And in business, I make more than twice as much money as I've ever made in my life. Probably close to 3 times as much. It's just been a massive growth and development in every area of my life. And so in February, I took on the task of basically applying all of this to trading. And something I really didn't do last year, not with the level of focus and intent. In fact, the fact that I just really didn't go through the process of learning the markets and price action and all of these things, it just really indicates the fact that it was really never where my focus was. My focus was in a lot of different areas, but not that. And so when I took on this challenge in February, I got to say, going live and basically saying, hey, I melted down again. I blew all of my accounts. I made a horrible mistake. To blow $2,500 worth of drawdown in one day is an absolute indication that there's no way I was sticking to my rules, and it was just meltdown. And I've had this happen multiple times. I had this happen 3 weeks in a row, and I got to tell you, there were times where I wanted to quit. There were times where I wasn't seeing the progress at the pace that I expected or wanted to see it. And I think that we all do this. We live in a microwave, TikTok, short attention span society. We want that instant gratification. And I just don't think most things that are meaningful in life, there's an instant gratification to them. And I got to say, in particular, trading. I think trading is one of those things where, no matter how much work you do, all of these things seem to take time. Look, I know there's a handful of people out there that 6 months, they start learning to trade, they go to it, and they go to town, and they're successful. And a lot of maybe the mindset and psychology issues, they don't necessarily have the negative side of that. Maybe they've been so successful in everything else that they've ever done, or they just found it at the right spot that they were able to progress much quicker. My path, my journey is 2.5 decades long. Now, it hasn't been 2.5 decades of consistent effort by any stretch of the imagination. It was a few months in '98, a few months in '05, a few months in 2014, and then starting last year. I don't know, more or less in that range. Anyway, so what this represents for me is it's the fruit. It's the evidence that everything that I'm doing is moving me in the right direction. One of the things that I've talked about on the podcast, on the Forward Trader podcast, on these lives that I do, is it's not about perfection, it's about progress. And it really helps to see these little milestones. Now, I don't know what's going to happen. Look, this is not to say that this account will last forever. I will never fail an account again. I don't know. We'll kind of see how it progresses. I still make mistakes. I even passed this evaluation with some mistakes that I made yesterday. But what I'm seeing is, number one, the mistakes are not necessarily as unfruitful, I guess. And I think a lot of that has to do with the work that I've done in terms of understanding the market. So even if I don't make a good, quote unquote, good trade, a lot of times it still goes in my favor, which is what happened yesterday. Shouldn't have been in the trade, shouldn't have done it, but I think luck does go hand in hand with hard work. But that's not the only trading that I did to get past this. And today was good trading. In fact, I can't tell you how many times I wanted to chicken out like I did earlier in the week on a trade that, ultimately went my way. And but I chickened out. I got out early. In fact, the next day I was committed to not chickening out, and I had a trade that was well deep into profit in my direction, but not to my target. And it turned around and it went against me. So I felt like, no matter what I did, I couldn't win. It was super frustrating, and so it's definitely been a journey. But what this represents to me is a milestone moving in the right direction. I'm not going to lie, I got a little emotional this morning. It was more to me than just the fact that I have now one $50,000 evaluation passed. Yeah, I've got 5 more evaluations that are almost halfway there. They're $13.85 up, more or less. So almost halfway to that $3,000 target. So look, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen next week. But what I know is today I hit a new milestone that I had not been able to hit. That's progress. And with progress, I know unequivocally, if I continue to do the work that I've been doing, there will be ups and downs, there will be highs and lows, but that progress will continue until I get to that next milestone, which is my first payout, the next milestone, which is my first 5-figure payout, the next milestone, which is a 6-figure payout, or whatever that continues to look like over time. I know that the work that I'm doing, even when it's frustrating, even when I feel like I'm not getting anywhere, I'm still getting somewhere. And to me, that is well worth documenting, and probably going to talk about it on the Forge Trader podcast. Now, if you haven't checked it out, new episode 10 dropping should be today, where I interview a good friend of mine who I've gotten to know through the world of trading. His story is phenomenal. He is such a fun and vibrant person. He's a young dude. He's from Jamaica. You got to hear his story. He's a blast. He goes by Coach Roach, my buddy Terrence, and he's just such a phenomenal person outside of the world of trading, and he has brought this into the world of trading, and it's been super fruitful for him. So I encourage you guys to check that out at the Forge Trader podcast on iTunes and Spotify. And beyond that, I just all of you who have been throwing out the support, the encouragement, and all this along the way, I can't begin to thank you enough. I feel like I just got an Oscar, which is far from the level of accomplishment that I've achieved, but for me, this accomplishment means way more. And again, it's just an indication that all the work that I'm doing is paying off. So anyway, thanks for indulging me in this little tirade. As always, I appreciate you guys. I love you all. God bless. Have a wonderful rest of your Thursday. I'll see you back here tomorrow.